And now to our first speaker. A number of you will have attended the concert this afternoon, and if you didn't, actually, you really should have done because it was fabulous, which included a performance of Dr. Susan Lim's Fantasy of Companionship Suite, composed by Manu Martin. We're lucky enough to have Susan speaking here this evening, but first let me tell you a little bit about her. So Susan graduated from Monash University in Melbourne, Australia, and then worked as a doctor for several years before undertaking a PhD here in Churchill in immunology, based in the Department of Clinical Medicine, between 1985 and 1988. I can't say I could say there's anything wrong with any of those decisions. Immunology, medicine, Churchill, fabulous. She may have overlapped with some of you who are here this evening, so there may be people who knew her personally when she was here. Susan's website describes her as a surgeon, scientist, and entrepreneur, and she's certainly been something of a pioneer. She's performed Singapore's first liver transplant, becoming the second female surgeon in the world to perform a liver transplant. And so before I finish, because I don't want to go on for too long, I should say that we as a college are particularly grateful to Susan and her husband Deepak for their generous bursary support for some of our medical students. So thank you very much to both of you. And without further ado, I shall hand over to Susan for the afternoon speech.
Thank you, Liz, for the kind introduction. Though we have just met on this occasion, I feel that we share a connection through our common research areas in immunology and our workplace, the Edinburgh Hospital, where I too spent some 3 years on level 9, once upon a time. Esteemed Master Dame Athene, Alumni Chair Jane Donara, fellow alumni, and distinguished guests. Tonight, as we are gathered to celebrate our college reunion, reconnect with old friends, and forge new bonds, may I invite everyone to join me in a show of thanks to Jane Donara, Chair of the Churchill College Alumni Association, for her unwavering dedication and service. Jane. In this moment of celebration, I would like at the outset to acknowledge our magnificent master, Dame Athene. A decade at the helm, she has championed tolerance, diversity, and equality for all. This is nothing short of heroic. Please, let's raise our glasses high to Dame Athene. Dame Athene. And speaking of Dame Athene, I'm sure that many of us, myself included, have read her latest book, Not Just for the Boys. This very title brings to mind a rather amusing anecdote, which I would like to share with you if I may. So picture this. It is the late 1980s. I have graduated, left Cambridge, a young surgeon, about to enter an operating room. Suddenly, I am confronted by an esteemed superior perched upon a porcelain throne, his finger pointing through me like a patriarchal magician. Indignantly, he gestures that I should redirect my path toward the room labeled nurses. Hard to believe, right? But back then, it was assumed that surgeons were men and nurses were women. Thankfully, times have changed. Today, the surgeon's room is no longer just for the boys. And speaking of changing times, gone are the days of a single linear career path for many of us. So tonight, the spirit of this reunion, let us discover the twists and turns that have shaped our professional lives. Allow me to share a glimpse into my own journey. I proudly graduated from Churchill College with a PhD in transplant immunology. But Churchill College offered more than academic rigor. Its wide open spaces inspired a broader perspective. This perspective was amplified each and every time I flew above the college grounds in helicopters. An aspiring transplant surgeon under the tutelage of the legendary late Sir Roy Khan. My assignment was to harvest organs from brain-dead donors. Amid the gravity of those moments, I sought an outlet, a way to process and express the weight of it all. Inspired by the early work of Sir Roy and others, I delved into the fascinating world of islet cell transplants for the treatment of type 1 diabetes. I had scrubbed in for some of the early pancreas transplants in centers of excellence on both sides of the Atlantic. Sadly, the outcomes were dismal. I was convinced that cells, not organs, was the way forward. This epiphany led to my first TED Talk, Transplant Cells, Not Organs. Overnight, I morphed from a surgeon to a storyteller, and having lived my formative years in the Woodstock era, I sought to tell my narrative through music. I became a surgeon, storyteller, and songwriter. In 2016, amid remarkable scientific advances, I was struck by the loneliness that plagued modern society. Inspired by the late MP Joe Cox's Commission on Loneliness, I envisioned a musical work that would offer hope and connection, a fantasy of companionship. My musical journey led me up the mountains to Courchevel. At 1,800 meters, I met a talented singer-violinist, Matthew Amai, who introduced me to a brilliant young composer, Manu Martin. Together, head above clouds, we brought the limb fantasy of companionship for piano and orchestra to life. Behind every transformative journey, there is a guiding light that illuminates the path ahead. In my journey, that light is my soulmate, Deepak Sharma. A global leader in financial services, his career could not have been further removed from the recording studios. But his unwavering belief in me led Deepak to assume a most unexpected role, that of an executive producer of a musical project. With Deepak at the helm, we recorded our beloved fantasy at the legendary Abbey Road Studios with pianist Ted Josephson and the incredible London Symphony Orchestra. We released our fantasy on Signum Classics in 2021, and 2 years later, we celebrated the UK premiere of our fantasy at the Cadogan Hall in London. The performance, presented by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra under the baton of Robert Ziegler and featuring esteemed pianist Mark Bebbington, was truly a night to remember. So tonight, I am delighted to have the opportunity to say thank you to Mark Bebbington, Robert Ziegler, and composer Manu Martin, who are here among us. Thank you. So this led to more. Now a storyteller, I wanted to share our fantasy through the medium of both cinema and music. My path crossed with a brilliant poet, art historian, and animator from the remote northeast of India, Samudra Kajal Saikya. His eclectic style and vibrant palette brought our first animated film, fantasy of companionship between human and inanimate, to life. Now you might be wondering why I chose the theme of companionship between human and inanimate. It stems from a connection I formed in the operating room with an extraordinary companion, a robot. In 2003, SARS engulfed much of Asia in a pandemic akin to COVID. Most people were confined to their homes. The drastic decline in non-essential surgeries left me with time on my hands. I decided to learn a new skill. The world's first robotic surgical systems had just entered clinical trials. Excitedly, I packed my bags and headed to Santa Barbara to embark on robotic surgical training at Computer Motion Industries. I realized the partnership of man and machine was quite the dynamic duo, performing tasks better than either could alone. So first came the one-armed Aesop, followed by the three-armed Zeus that pioneered the world's first transatlantic telerobotic surgery between Strasbourg and New York. Sadly, my companion Zeus met an untimely demise due to a corporate takeover. After a brief period of mourning, I returned to California, this time to the headquarters of Intuitive Surgical in Sunnyvale, where I met my new partner, Da Vinci. The Da Vinci robot is the creme de la creme of robotic surgical systems. It enables precision surgery in various fields, from urology to general surgery. Why the name Da Vinci, you ask? It is a nod to the brilliant artist and scientist Leonardo da Vinci, whose relentless exploration of human anatomy led to the design of the world's first robotic systems. Indeed, the life and career of Da Vinci serves as an inspiration to us all. Just as he embraced a multidisciplinary approach to living as a polymath, so we too are no longer confined in a single dimension. So circling back to our professional journeys, let us embrace the polymath within us. Who knows what we might create. I'd like to leave you with a quote attributed to Da Vinci. Once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward. For there you have been, and there you will always long to return. It is now my great honor to introduce Dame Athene as we celebrate her remarkable tenure as Master of Churchill College. Dame Athene, you have been a tireless advocate for diversity and inclusivity, a champion of women in science, a dedicated public servant, renowned for your contributions to science and academia. Your groundbreaking research in soft matter physics has had a profound impact on the scientific community. You were appointed Fellow of the Royal Society and Dame Commander of the British Empire for services to physics. But beyond those achievements, you are a beloved member of the Churchill College community. Your kindness and generosity have touched the lives of both students and staff. Under your leadership, Churchill College has continued on a path of academic excellence. Today, Churchill College boasts an impressive impressive 32 Nobel laureates. It is clear that the college's commitment to excellence and innovation is stronger than ever. Fellow alumni and distinguished guests, please would you rise and join me in a toast to Dame Athene as we celebrate her extraordinary career as Master of Churchill College. To Dame Athene. Dame Athene, the stage is now yours.
Thank you, Susan, for those incredibly kind words. You've set me up in a way that it can only go downhill from here. I've been asked to talk about my 10 years here. 10 years of evenings like this. It seems extraordinary that I've been here that long, that the time here has both felt incredibly short and at times enormously long.